last 3 years of my life, a full academic team, and all we did is survey, interview, run the data. Survey, interview, run the data. Largest ever, not even comparable, by over 100,000 people is what we did. And what we teased out was that there's only 6 habits that actually empirically can be proven lead to high performance. High performance just means long-term success.
Yep, sustainable.
Sustained long-term success, which is huge. But so I've been teaching High Performance Academy for 8, 9 years. And the good thing about doing research is there were some things I taught they were wrong. And there were some things I taught there was just so much nuance to it, now I can teach it better. And also I think a lot of people want to know in personal development, is any of this provable?
Yeah.
I think that's why positive psychology is so important. And we had researchers from University of Pennsylvania helping us with this. So they just want to know, is it real?
Yeah.
And we teased out over 21 different habits. And then we asked, can it be replicable? Meaning, are high performers who are doing this, are they just freaking amazing?
Yep.
Or can you practice that? Then we said, is it actually effective across domains? Meaning, would this prove out true for an athlete versus an assistant versus, a barista versus a CEO in Fortune 50, which it did. All 6 habits are things everyone can do. They're not innate. They're not like you're lucky and born with that. And everything that we learned that, when people have an excuse, they say, well, I'm too young. Or they say,
I'm too old.
Or I'm from this demographic, I'm from that town. None of that matters. And we proved it, and we said, these are the only things that matter. And that's what excites me about it, is because I can now share these little nuances and people go, oh, that's what matters, and that will help them get ahead. Creativity is not strongly correlated with high performance. But I interviewed a Fortune 50 CTO, Chief Technology Officer. Unbelievably high-performing people. Their stock's off the roof. But what he said, he goes, Brendon, I'm not a creative person. My team isn't particularly creative. But long-term success matters just as much about execution and consistency and showing up as the creative edge. The creative edge might get you in the game, because remember, high performance is long-term success. We're not studying initial success. It's very initial success, grit, creativity, originality, all these things, very important. The spark that gets you in the game, for sure. But even Jim Rohn said, motivation gets you in the game, habits keep you there. And creativity as a habit, the spark that might be called original creativity, it might only happen for us every 2 to 3 years. So that's not sufficient. We got to show up on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Execution is more important, as an example. So we talk about the kinds of creativity that actually matter, but it's not strongly correlated.
You wrote that achievement is not the problem, alignment is.
Learn that we have to find that thing that we can align to. And a lot of people, they're achieving themselves into the wrong thing. They put the ladder against the wrong building. They just haven't really figured out what's important to them. And most importantly, alignment also includes harmony in your life. Because a lot of people achieve in their career and then they're divorced.
Yeah.
Achieve, and they're fat, and they didn't take care of themselves. And they know it, and it sounds horrible to say it, but they know it. And so you have to figure out, okay, how can we align ourselves to something that we really care about? And not align sometimes on a Monday or a Tuesday, or not just in our career, but really get our relationships, our health, our career, all in alignment to help us become high performing. Because high performing isn't just achievement for achievement's sake.
Right. What
we found in the study is high performers also value well-being more than almost any other demographics that we've ever measured. When we say alignment, we don't just mean choosing the right thing. We mean generally creating some kind of harmonious alignment in your life. I don't use I wouldn't say that in the book, but that, that's really what it is.
It really is, because, in thinking about how each of us defines success, it's such a unique thing.
Yeah.
But those components of health and your family and how you feel every day and the meaningfulness of it has to be there.
So I say, people watching, if you're in this place where you really feel like you're struggling, but you're like, damn, I'm working so hard, I would say what she said to me, achievement is not the problem. Major keys we found. The first high-performing habit is seek clarity. And what we found is one of the practices that high performers do is they define the feeling they're after. And so when we had to explain that and later talk about it in the energy chapter, we had to differentiate between feelings and emotions, and they are different. Emotions tend to be, they're the same.
Yeah.
Like they're physical, they're almost always automatic, even though in the brain is creating associations, there's lots to happen. For us, they just kind of,
Emotion comes up.
yeah, you're watching a movie and you're just sad and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm crying. You didn't even have the tissues ready, you're just like, blah, But feelings are usually interpretations that we make of what that emotion was and how it sticks and the meaning we give it to it. The example I like to give is if you and I go to a haunted house.
Yeah. Which I love.
I love them, and they scare me to crap. But if you and I walk around, you walk around one of the walls in a haunted house, someone jumps out at you.
Yeah.
You and I are both gonna jump.
Yes.
We are emotionally going to experience fright immediately. It's gonna be there, right? But I might be freaked out for the next 5 minutes, and you might be laughing. Why? It's the meaning and the feeling that we've defined it as. That's fine for everybody. Here's the issue that people have, and you have to be careful about when we start talking about energy, because emotional energy is real.
Yes.
And that is, look, if at 6, we go to the haunted house at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. If at 9 p.m. now you're in your house, you're alone, but you're completely safe, and you still feel scared, that's not the haunted house's problem. That is the way that you are defining and working through your own emotions. You had the emotion of terror and fear, and you're still experiencing that feeling. That's a mental job, not an emotional job. So your job is to go, wow, I'm at my house. I've lived here for 10 years. I've never been threatened in this house. This is a safe place. I gotta redefine the feeling I want to experience. Related habit, the third habit, is to basically raise necessity. It's a fancy way of saying high performers perform better because they feel like they must do it.
Yes.
And there's this interchange between their identity and what they value, believe, and feel are important, and then an external demand for them to do better. And what happens is they say, their identity says, I really care about excellence. I have high standards. I want to do a good job here. This is important to me. I love this. And then it connects with external demand. Need to do a good job. There's a deadline. I feel a social duty or a spirit or calling.
People are depending on me.
Yes, people are depending on me. And when those two come together, right in the middle, that's necessity, what we call performance necessity. It's like, I need to do a good job here, and I'm motivated by that, not scared by that.
Yeah.
It's a perfect little connection. There's a whole chapter on it in the book. And what often happens for people is that emotional thing we were talking about earlier, like that emotion of anxiety, they're using that to raise their necessity to do better. They're like, I'm gonna use this feeling I have and transform it to do better.
Yes.
Even though everyone else would identify that same emotion as I'm scared, they're gonna say, this feeling is gonna make me focus. This feeling that I wanna have right now, I'm gonna put my A game on. What they were experiencing and transforming it into something that gave them performance edge. Whether it's an artist readying themselves to touch the canvas, like there's a thing that says, I want to be a great artist. I want to do a great job. And that self-talk is leveling up our necessity. Lots of people have amazing strengths, but they don't get off the couch because they don't feel it's necessary to win, necessary to succeed, necessary to serve. And high performers feel like it is necessary that I show up today, I do a good job, I help others. Sometimes some answer it in a spiritual realm. They say, I feel called to do this. I feel it is my mission. I feel God has given me these gifts and I don't want to waste that. And that for them is a very spiritual, emotional connection to it's necessary for me to kick some butt. High performers are not dissatisfied strivers. They're not. They're happy. High performers are happier than their peers. We all believe that to get the top, it's gonna be lonely at the top, and we all believe you have to grind and kill yourself to get there.
Yeah.
And that's completely wrong, and the data proves it worldwide, which is, I think, just overcoming a lot of people's biases about how you work today, because right now, especially today, grind on social media is so popular.
Or hustle.
And by the way, none of the top 15% of high performers worldwide identify with those words. They literally don't. We asked them, we did a whole keyword analysis.
Yep.
This was actually pretty cool. And high performers explicitly say, these are the 3 driving feelings. If we said there was a high performance state, it's driven from these 3 things. Number 1, full engagement.
Yes.
Number 2, joy.
Yes.
And number 3, confidence.
Yes.
That's what they relate with, okay? That's where it's coming from. It's a joyous journey, not a dissatisfied one. If you're never satisfied, I mean, is it true that life is precious? If it's true that life is precious, and you could be gone tomorrow, do you really want to think, you know what, I just never felt fulfilled? I never allowed myself to have a moment of credit. I never allowed myself to have a moment of peace. I never allowed myself to look at that and say, good job. That's not the way to live life.
Right.
I think just at a spiritual level, it's a bad move. And this book doesn't really go into a lot of that. It's more about the science and the heart stuff. But I think it's really important that people realize your job is to strive satisfied. And if you strive satisfied more often, you will be more of a high performer. And if you never give yourself credit, you're always beating up on yourself, you're always thinking that's not perfect enough, then what's gonna happen? Dissatisfied people burn out and they quit more often than satisfied strivers. So take joy in the moment, engage with what you're doing, allow credit and satisfaction and joy to come in. You can always be improving.
Of course.
But be improving joyfully.
Yes.
And if you're improving joyfully, then you're learning, you feel curious, you feel engaged, the joy is there, you'll get more confident because you're like, I'm gonna learn through this anyway, this is gonna be great. Because you know this thing is all over social media right now, like, grind, work, whatever. And I'm like, it's popular and I see why that happens and I see why it's catchy. It's just not scientifically valid.
Yeah.
Put them on a beach for a while and they're not like, your natural state is like, this is beautiful, this is great. There's awe, there's inspiration, there's joy there. Tap back into that and you'll be more of a high performer.
I love it. Brendon, I'm so happy to have you as a friend, and just congratulations again on this and all of your incredible work. And thank you for coming today.
Thank you. This is a joy for me